went to the dentist earlier today, and I didn't think that my teeth needed so much cleaning or whatever. I have a permanent retainer on my bottom teeth. I don't know if you can if you can see it there, but I have a removable one that I wear on the top, and I'm supposed to be wearing it like every night. I probably wear it like, I don't know, 4 nights a week. But the food that I'm eating is, apparently getting stuck underneath my retainer. So they went in there with that metal tool, and the thing is, I understand when people say that they're afraid to go to the dentist, like they bring those freaking metal grinders or whatever it is near your mouth. I get it. It's terrifying. And the thing is, I think, guys, I really think we got to go to the dentist at least once a year, brushing your teeth 2 times a day. And I feel like the only acceptable time to really lie is when they ask you how often you floss. Like, that's a question I get every single time I go to the dentist. How often are you flossing? And when the truth is probably, I don't know, once every 3 weeks, maybe, if I'm like messing around, you're supposed to be doing it probably like at least every other day, something like that. But people neglect their teeth. People put a lot of hard work into their teeth when they're like 11 through 14 years old with braces, and then they kind of just let it go, whether it's like not brushing it, not wearing your retainer or anything. But I've put in too many hours of hard work through these teeth for me to have crooked teeth, so I got to wear that top retainer more. You know what I mean? But went there today. It wasn't so bad, but I would just recommend you guys get there like once a year. It's a tough 30 minutes in terms of cleaning, but then once you're done, you're happy you're done and you don't have any cavities, whatever it is. Because if you miss the dentist for a few years, you can easily have a cavity. I don't know what happened back in the day, though. Like before dentists. I don't know when dentists were even invented. Back in the 1800s or whatever, people just probably started having wooden teeth. That was, George Washington had wooden teeth. That's actually true. That's funny that we mentioned that, because George Washington did have wooden chops. But also, I imagine if you're not eating that much meat, you don't need to clean your teeth that much. It's got to be at least once a year, guys. You know what I mean? But went down there. My dentist's office is close to Washington Square Park, so walked a little bit. And that was my cardio for the afternoon. Got home and was so exhausted. Didn't get so much sleep last night. Took like a 25-minute nap before I hopped on here. And now, as you guys can tell, I'm freaking soaring with energy. But no, sometimes I'll take that afternoon nap, and I'm not so shy to take one just because, it usually is anywhere from 20 or 40 minutes, get me a power nap going, and then I could usually last through the rest of the night. It's like charging your phone. You know what I'm saying? People with the iPhone 13 swear that their battery lasts longer. If you guys have the iPhone 13, please keep bringing in those consistent comments about the iPhone 13 being so much better than my phone. See, when the iPhone 11 was out, they had a version that looked like the 8, if you guys see here on the YouTube channel, and also on Spotify, we now have video. Yes, very interesting and exclusive. If you guys see me here on Spotify, hello. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you do have Spotify, go check out Spotify. You'll see the video streaming on the platform down there. But this iPhone 11 has been great. I've dropped it many a times, and I still do like the button. And any upgrade that I get, any phone upgrade that I get, I know I'm going to lose this button. And I'm still one of the only people I think that still has this button. If you have the button, let me know. Let me know in the comments. TEDJONESWORLD@gmail.com. Guys, we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show coming up this Monday at the Stand, 7 p.m. And also, we have Comedy Night with Ted Jones this Thursday at Asylum NYC in Chelsea. Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. Check the link in this YouTube video, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, Amazon Music, wherever you guys are listening to this podcast. Just check the link down there and get to one of our shows because they are amazing. I cannot wait for these 2 shows coming up this week. And then shortly after that, I will be headed down to Miami visiting my dad and opening for Hannah Berner at the Miami Improv. So guys, just stay tuned to date on the Ted Jones World Instagram. That's where I post everything Ted Jones on Facebook, Ted Jones World _ on Twitter, Ted Jones World 1 on TikTok, giving you all the updates and juice. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, do whatever you gotta do. But the last vlog that we put out on Tuesday was one of the more fun vlogs we had shooting. Playing tennis at the U.S. Open site. I did a racket review for one of my buddies who runs the sports like tennis stringing and gear shop at the US Open. Tennis used to be such a huge part of my life. A lot of you may not comprehend. So from the ages of like, I'd say 8 to 12, I played tennis every summer, like 4 days a week for at least 4 hours a day during the summer. So then once I turned 12, I wanted to get more serious in the sport. So I started to play like 4 days a week during the week. Played tennis, traveled like to different tournaments in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. New York, Connecticut, New Jersey was compiled of the Eastern section. That's what they call the East. So I was traveling, playing tournaments when I was like 13, 14. And then by the time I was, I'd say we go back to like I was age 12 and a half, 13, I had to kind of make the decision between baseball and tennis. And I ultimately chose tennis. And it was funny because when I chose tennis, it was like a deciding moment when I won MVP of my little league when I was 12 years old. And then like that day I went to tennis camp and I was crying the entire 2 weeks I was there. I hated it. I hated sleepovers. Never was a big sleepover guy, but like going to tennis camp for 2 weeks when I was 12 years old, it was awful. I was crying almost every single night. Just wanted to be home with my mom and dad. But that was like the deciding point. That was what made me choose tennis over baseball. I just like tennis because I like the idea that I was the one who was going to mess up or I was the one who was going to win. You know, being on the baseball team, I was definitely the star of the team, given that I won MVP. Yes, but like it was just so difficult when like I was pitching or something and an easy pop fly would be hit to the outfield and one of the kids would not catch it. I'd be like, dude, what is going on? I much prefer if I was playing in the outfield and I didn't catch it, but tennis is just ultimately what I chose. It was between baseball and tennis. In baseball, I played shortstop and pitcher kind of replicating a serve, you know, so kind of related, I guess. But starting from the age of like 14, I started to play tennis very seriously and went to like tennis academies, whatever it was. And then at the end of 8th grade, when I was probably turning 15 for 9th grade, I was homeschooled for tennis, to play tennis, guys. I didn't go to school. I had a private tutor. As I drink water, I'm going to let that set in. Yes, I had a private tutor from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and then the rest of the day I'd be playing tennis. So I'd wake up like 5:30 a.m. I'd be at the tennis courts in Long Island City from 6 to 8. Then I'd have a running trainer from like 8:15 to 8:45. Then I'd have a tutor from 9 to 12:30. Then I'd go back, play tennis for an hour, do fitness, and then play with the kids after school from like 5:30 to 7:30. So no joke, like 4 hours of tennis a day, an hour and a half of fitness, and this is just my life for freshman year of high school. It's so weird to look back on it now just because it's so different, such a different thing to do. Like, yes, obviously being homeschooled is a different thing to do, but like it really affected me in 9th grade because like I didn't expect kids to give me so much shit. Kids were always giving me shit. Oh, you're homeschooled. You don't have any friends. Like, guys, shut up. Like, looking back on it, I wish I could have just been like, you guys, shut up, you normal ass kid. No, but like, it's just so weird how things affect you differently. Like, looking back on it now, I think it's one of the cooler things I've ever been able to do. I've been blessed to do. Thank you, my parents, for paying for a private tutor in tennis for my freshman year of high school. You know, like, I had a completely different beginning of high school than many, many other kids, like 99% of kids, right? Kids aren't really homeschooled. Are you homeschooled? Do you know anyone who's been homeschooled? I feel like, I don't know, the year of being homeschooled just really did something to me. Kind of just made me appreciate having friends, you know, like having mutual activities with people. Because like the only time I would see kids is like on the tennis court. I wouldn't see kids in class or during the day. I'd be on tournaments during the weekend. And then for high school, I went to professional children's school to pursue tennis, and that really never led to anything. I mean, it did lead to something. I was playing tennis a lot, and then I played Division I college tennis at UConn, which was amazing. You know, that was a great experience. But the idea of me going or being homeschooled for freshman year was that I would potentially go pro in tennis. Crazy thought looking back on it now, because like, if you're 14 years old and you're thinking about going pro in tennis and like everything is lined up that way, you got to be like top 10 in the country at least. And I was nowhere near that at age 14. And in tennis is so much different than other sports because like you can start other sports when you're older and like you'll get better gradually. But like if you start tennis too late, and I don't want to say I started tennis too late because I was playing tennis when I was 8 years old, but playing it seriously, I think I started playing too late. You know, like playing tennis seriously when you're like 13 years old, you've already realized that like you have so much strength in your upper body that like, especially for tennis, it's really about syncing your upper body and lower body with the hit. You know, like drawing in the ball with the coil, easy letting it out. I'm kind of just like explaining the stroke here. It's like a coil, a figure eight. But like when you're a young 13-year-old or approaching your early teens, whatever that is, you don't really have so much connection between your lower body and upper body. Like when you're shooting a basketball, yes, it comes naturally because like you start at your legs and then it goes to your upper body. But like tennis, you have the opportunity to play like really lazy and be stiff and not use so much of your lower body. And that happens to a lot of younger kids. So when you don't start playing tennis that young, you don't have that natural movement from the hip. Like if you think about it like this, okay, if you have like a 5-pound weight and you're trying to lift it up, like how are you going to lift it up? It's going to lift from your core, right? You're not just going to pick it up through your arm. That's not the best way to lift up a 5-pound weight. You might even hurt your arm if you do it like that. So if you're picking it up from the ground, you naturally want to start from your hips and then move it out up, and then it comes down around your shoulder. But like in tennis, you really just need to start early because like when you're lifting that racket up, you'll naturally have that movement from your hip if you're young and you're not recognizing your upper body strength. So I think me having upper body strength and not really focusing and honing into my lower body, I think was an issue at a young age. And this happens to kids who start sports when they're older. They have like a bigger ego and they think that they could just do everything with their arm. When in actuality, they got to use their hips. But anyway, that's just a freaking sports discussion that I was thinking about. Nadal did win the Australian Open, guys. 21 Grand Slams, making him the greatest player ever. I think so. 21 Grand Slams, the most of all time. Granted, some of his stats are not as good as Federer's and Djokovic in terms of overall performance in every tournament, but he does have the most Grand Slams, so we're going to have to give him that friggin' medal at the current moment. He was also down 2-0 in the over 5.5-hour match that he played against Daniil Medvedev. And for those of you who don't know, when you're down 2-0, each set takes anywhere from like 35 to 65 minutes. So Nadal was in the hole for like 2 hours in the beginning and then fought back over the next 3.5 hours to win the match. Crazy. Guy said champion. He said champion. And, he was injured 2 months ago. The guy didn't even know if he was going to play the Australian Open. He is quite the freaking heart. And then as I'm telling you guys this, Tom Brady officially retired. So we're seeing a lot of great athletes slowly, make their greatness impact over the game and then fading away. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Rafael Nadal. I imagine that he's not going to fade away right now, but he's got to be kind of wrapping up soon, don't you think? He's got his own tennis academy, and he has a show on Amazon. You guys should check that out, by the way, on Amazon Prime. It's called Rafa Nadal Tennis Academy. It's just like behind the scenes of what goes on in his tennis academy. But like having a tennis academy and still being a Grand Slam champion, guy's doing it all. He's always been a beast, always been like one of the more focused, humble athletes. You look at a Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, more than any team, which is crazy. But when you think about it and we look back on the great sports athletes, for the most part, they've all been humble. I guess you can say maybe not boxers like a Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali, but that's just a different sport. Like combat sports, you're not really that humble. You're always talking shit, And football, you talk shit too, but maybe not at the quarterback position. You look to be like a leader. When you think of talking shit in football, you think of like, I don't know, like a lineman getting a sack, a wide receiver catching a touchdown, a cornerback getting an interception, something like that. But quarterback, typically the leader on the field. And tennis players who are really great in the game, they're humble too. You just got to have that confidence on the court. People sometimes ask me if these glasses are real. Yes, they're real. I remember for Halloween and stuff, I used to wear fake glasses without the actual prescription on the inside. But yes, these are very real. I'm at negative, I I think it's -3 flat. You guys know what I'm talking about, meaning I'm farsighted or I'm nearsighted. I don't even know what the shit that either of them mean. I mean, I cannot see far away, so I'm farsighted. Nearsighted, I'm good. Like if I were to read something that's right here on my hand, I can easily read it. But yes, these glasses, they're freaking real, okay? And I'm either going to get LASIK surgery within the next few years, or I would like to use those eye drops that make your that make your eyes like better. I don't know. I'm seeing that there are trials with these. I don't know. I'll put what they're actually called here in the description if I actually find out what they are. But yeah, I mean, having bad eyes, it's crazy. I can't believe that people have been around this long having like bad eyes like this. And maybe like because I do have such a strong prescription, my eyes have gotten worse progressively over the last few years, maybe like last 5 or 6 years, just because I'm always wearing glasses or I always have contacts in. But I don't know how, like, why are humans' ears as bad as my eyes are? I don't know. I mean, my eyes probably aren't even considered that bad. Like, I've heard of people who have much worse eyes, you know, like -6 or something like that. Or maybe you guys have +6. Does that probably mean you're nearsighted? Something like that. But anytime I go to the the eye doctor, I'll get like a 6-month supply of glasses, contacts. I recommend you guys should do this too. Actually, don't do this. I'm not an optometrist. Is that even what you call it? You're an eye doctor. I'm not an eye doctor, so you don't have to listen to me, but this is just what I do. Save freaking cash. I get a 6-month supply of those contacts. I'm like, no way those things run out 1 year. You know, that just means I would use them twice or 2 times in 1 day. I'd use 1 pair for 2 days, and I usually end up using 1 pair more than 2 days. So you figure if you use 1 pair every 3 days, you stretch that 6 months out to a year and a half. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying that's what I do, all right? And if you listen to everything that I do on this podcast, then you'd be probably well-rounded, except you'd be down in crypto right now. You'd be a vegan. You'd be slightly down in crypto right now, depending on when you bought in. But I think I think everything's trending upwards. And guys, we're going to be on the forefront. You go vegan, all right? You're noticing that even the most fastest of fast food restaurants are propping up their vegan menu, okay? KFC putting that Beyond Chicken on the menu. If you guys have had that chicken, you let me know. I still haven't found a KFC next to me, but the next time I do pass by a KFC, I'm going in and trying that Beyond Chicken. Taco Bell coming in with the Impossible Meat. McDonald's with the McPlant. A lot of this stuff is starting in the UK, and then you're seeing Chipotle going to bring in some sort of Impossible Meat, something like that. Everything's starting in the UK, and it's moving here. It's moving towards the Western Hemisphere. Right? I believe that's where we are in the United States. I believe this is the Western Hemisphere. That's the way like everything's coming. You know, oat milk, almond milk, a lot more people I'm seeing drinking that kind of stuff. Cow milk is on the decline, I hope. Guys, we got to realize that these food companies have not been great to us over the years, you know? Humanely raised and all these freaking words that don't make any sense and try and make us feel warm, like no antibiotics, antibiotic free, stuff like that. It's just like words that we've been trained to think that, oh, now we're allowed to eat it because it's so much better for you than how we would kill it through a blender or whatever it is. If you guys haven't seen Super Size Me 2 with Morgan Spurlock, I suggest you watch it. I'll give you kind of a synopsis on the movie. Morgan Spurlock looks to create a chicken place, kind of like a Chick-fil-A, where he's very transparent about what goes on with the chickens. And he goes through the whole industry of chickens and how hard it is to get a batch of I want to say like homegrown chickens, you know, put them in a chicken farm or chicken coop, whatever it is, free range. Check out that documentary if you have time. But check out that documentary. It's actually really good and really interesting. And Morgan Spurlock puts together good films. If you guys haven't seen Super Size Me, that's like the first one of that. But like that was also a great one too. And I'm sure you guys have seen Super Size Me. Season 4 of Ozark, good. I'm going to leave it at good. It's a little slow. A lot goes on in that show. Jason Bateman stays super freaking calm the entire show, and I respect him for that, but like it just seems like there's issue after issue on this show. And I'm all for issues. That makes the watching of TV more interesting, but like there's just too much going on in this particular show. So I don't know. It's good. I'm going to keep it at good. That winter snow this past weekend really jammed up the city. A ton of ice all over the place. Thank God there's not so much black ice. I don't know. Maybe there's black ice where you guys aren't outside of New York City. Maybe you're in Long Island, whatever, Connecticut. Let me know where you guys are listening to this from. Let me know where you guys are listening to this from. Maybe you're in Minnesota and there's black ice everywhere. You throw a pot of water out and it's freezing midair. But like the snow in New York just gets super messy and dirty, and I'm not liking it right now. Not liking it right now. I'm looking forward to March. January was freaking long, guys. So happy February. February is going to be great. A little bit cold this month, but hey, we'll get through it. And the thing is, don't forget, because when it's summer in New York, we're like, oh, we can just use an enormous winter breeze right now. And that's the beautiful thing about New York, you know, that we sometimes take advantage, I think. You know, there's something to be said about not being so comfortable for every single type of weather. You know, you go down to Florida, it's hot, it's warm, it's nice, and then it just gets too freaking hot. You know, you're in Chicago, it's nice and warm, and then it just gets too freaking cold. New York is perfect. LA, maybe better weather, but hey, New York, the concrete jungle, absolutely the best. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Ted Jones World Podcast. As always, check the link in this YouTube video, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, wherever you guys are listening to this podcast to. And don't forget to get to a Comedy Night with Ted Jones show or Ted Jones Comedy Show in New York City. If you guys are going to be in Miami, President's Day weekend, all right? Hit your boy up on the DMs or TedJonesWorld at gmail.com. Would love to see you at the Miami Improv with Hannah Berner, all right? See you guys soon. Peace.